In the project management segment, I touched on the importance of considering human resources. Not surprisingly, this is also an important part of successful collaboration. You'll be collaborating with others throughout your Miami University career as well as beyond. Since this is a writing course, we'll focus here on aspects of collaborative writing, which include planning, drafting, editing, and revising. In their book, Group Work and Collaborative Writing, Connery and Bose point out the benefits of working in a group. They explained that workplace writing requires a different approach than individual writing, and it is certainly true that successful medical and scientific research tends to be a team effort. They also state that collaboration helps maintain focus on the document's purpose and stakeholders, brainstorming becomes more efficient, and joint ownership of a document can lead to increased individual accountability. Oh, that sounds great, doesn't it? But maybe your group work experiences so far have been something like this. Or even like this. What can we do to improve our collaboration efforts and make them not only bearable, but even successful? The first thing to remember is that no one is born with great teamwork skills, and they don't magically appear when they're needed. Like any other skill, it takes time and practice. Do not expect group roles to evolve naturally into a successful project. Waiting for roles to evolve naturally tends to mean that the one person who's really worried about his or her grade will take on far too much of the workload, while the slackers will, well, slack. Learning any skill requires an investment of mental and physical energy, and this includes group collaboration. It's important to remember that the other members of the group are relying on you to do your part, so you need to step up and develop your skills along with everyone else. A successful team collaborates in an environment where each individual contributes in meaningful ways and understands how his or her contribution affects organizational priorities. Now, this doesn't mean that every single group member has to have the same mentality or perspectives. In fact, business journalist James Surowiecki states that the successful teams function in accordance with these 4 criteria: diversity of opinion. Each person's interpretation of the facts should be respected. Independence. People's opinions aren't determined by the opinions of those around them. Decentralization. People are able to specialize and draw on local knowledge. Agregation. Mechanisms exist for turning individual judgments into a collective decision, and this is just as true for scientific research groups as it is for any other group. Surowiecki's criteria explain how groups are effective. To put it another way, complementary and supplementary information, perspectives, and opinions make the pooled knowledge greater than the sum of its parts, and this happens when the 4 key criteria mentioned on the previous slide work together. Individuals participating in a team are often more willing to share their ideas and put forth effort to make the team successful. If they're not participating, then you need new team members. And it's up to the more gregarious members to draw out the shy ones. They often have the best ideas, but for whatever reason they're reluctant to speak up. Sharon Lanier, a scientist and philosopher who is credited with pioneering virtual reality, heralded the rise of the Internet as a golden age of collaboration and exchange of ideas. He has since expressed serious reservations about what he calls the mob mentality of many Internet users, who seem to accept actions called cyberbullying and trolling as the status quo. Lanier states that group wisdom functions best when information is filtered by a quality control mechanism that relies on individuals to a high degree. So instead of considering the voice of dissent in your group as a troublemaker who's only trying to create more work for everyone else, apply your critical thinking skills and think about the substance of the message. After all, mistakes made by the group are more likely to be detected by a group member than individual mistakes are to be detected by an individual. Individuals can contribute their individual strengths and talents to group success, and they can learn how to work closely together after overcoming personality or cultural barriers. What specifically can we do to make collaboration work the way it's supposed to work? Clear communication is key. If you have an idea or suggestion, then say it. It never ceases to amaze me that so many workplace problems can be solved easily if people just take a few minutes and talk to each other. But there's more to it than just talking. You also need to be sure you listen actively and be sure you understand others' ideas. What do I mean by listen actively? It means paying attention to what the speaker is saying without interrupting, glancing at your phone or the door or the clock on the wall, etc. It also means reviewing the main points so you can be sure you understand the message. One way to do this is to set aside a few minutes at the start and end of each session to review what's been accomplished and what still needs to be done. This will also help you make sure that everyone on the team knows what he or she is expected to contribute and when. Successful collaboration factors also include these points: sharing and articulating goals. If you aren't all working towards the same goal, you'll never reach it. Maintaining open dialogue and mutual respect. This is one of the most crucial aspects of successful collaboration. Offering constructive responses to colleagues. Note the word constructive there. If you have a problem with someone's idea, focus on the idea, not on the person expressing it. If you're really all working toward the same goal, then there may be more than one way to achieve it. Your way may be the best way, but then again it may not. As musician Frank Zappa observed, a mind is like a parachute. It won't work if it's not open. Using an agreed-upon procedure for managing disagreements. This also helps keep you focused on the constructive aspect of constructive criticism. Working within constraints such as time, budget, etc. If you've mastered successful collaboration, then the peer review is going to go much more smoothly. What is a peer review? It refers to the team coming together to read, comment upon, and recommend improvements for each other's writing. And a successful peer review depends on the same collaboration factors as well as coming prepared to work, which of course means having your contribution ready for the rest of the group. Remain open-minded about suggestions. Critique the ideas and or the writing, not the person. Accept and give constructive criticism graciously. What do you look for during a peer review? As I hope you've realized by now, there's much more to good writing than grammar and spelling. They are important, but they can't all by themselves make your writing as effective as it could and should be. Therefore, consider all the aspects of writing, not just the grammar and spelling. Look for clarity of purpose. Would a reader who has never seen the document before know why it was written and what to do with the information it provides? Suitability for intended audience. Is the tone sufficiently formal? Are there any phrases or expressions that may be confusing or offensive to some readers? Persuasiveness. Does the document achieve what the group set out to do? Organization of content. Is there a logical flow? Placement of graphics in appropriate places. Are the figures and tables appropriately referenced in the text? And these are just some of the major considerations in a peer review. You may need to look at the finer details as well. Avoiding groupthink. I referred to the concept of groupthink a bit earlier when I mentioned Lanier's concern about mob mentality among Internet users. You should avoid falling into this trap, and there are some helpful techniques you can use. Assign a devil's advocate to look for any problems in statements or to raise questions. This isn't meant to tear down all the hard work your group has accomplished, but it is intended to make the group take a close look at the project and see how well it stands up to scrutiny. Keep one or two group members from dominating the discussion or decision making. Again, groups work best when all the individuals contribute. Ensure critical thinking is not sacrificed for the sake of group cohesiveness. In other words, don't go along to get along. Finally, here are a few do's and don'ts to keep in mind as takeaway points for your next collaboration project. Do. Be considerate. Speak up. Be mindful of others' feelings. Listen actively. Invite constructive criticism. Accept that no one is perfect. Feel free to disagree and remain open-minded. Don't believe the group leader is the expert. Don't pressure others unnecessarily. Don't criticize people rather than ideas. Don't allow disagreements to become personal, and don't give in too easily if your ideas are initially criticized.
The Cold War were used to say that the people in Eastern Europe were not allowed to speak. They could not make their voices heard. Now the people of the West are speaking. Hear our voices. Cheer the people. Cheer the people, because another world is possible.